The park that we decided to research for our Parkscape project is Dry Tortugas National Park. Dry Tortugas National Park is located off the southern tip of Florida and is at approximately 70 miles west of Key West. It comprises 47,000 square acres and is composed of multiple islands surrounded by the Gulf of Mexico. The park experiences a tropical climate and is very warm year-round. The ecological basis for conservation is the National Park Service. The group uses different resources such as money, park rangers, and scientific studies across the islands and its surrounding waters in order to keep the area preserved for all to see for generations to come. They also work with various other groups in order to keep the biodiversity of the park high and to attract more tourists. The islands were discovered by Ponce de Leon on June 2, 1513, while he was in search of the Fountain of Youth. Due to the park's strategic location as a shipping lane, whoever controlled the islands had access to America's heartland. Because of this, the United States began construction of Fort Jefferson in 1846. Although the fort was never completed due to the Civil War, President Roosevelt made it a national monument under the Antiquities Act in 1935 in order to protect the fort. The monument boundary was expanded in 1983 to encompass more of the land and surrounding waters and to protect the life within it. In 1992, Congress once again expanded the boundary and made it a national park, with current governance by the National Park Service in order to protect against overfishing and treasure hunters, which were huge social issues at the time.
One key ecological issue that is evident at the Dry Tortugas National Park is that of the lionfish, which are a type of invasive species. In the sea, lionfish have become a huge issue to the park itself and those who visit it. The lionfish feed on the fish that eat algae in the waters, which causes an overgrowth of it. When the algae overgrows, it kills coral that is present around the park and causes a loss of other native fish. They also have very dangerous sting, which presents a harm to tourists who visit the park. The combination of the dangerous sting, the decrease in coral, and less biodiversity of the fish in the sea decreases tourism, which harms the local economy. An opportunity of sustainability connected to this issue of the lionfish, park rangers educate tourists around the park to notify them when they spot a lionfish. Patrol groups also monitor the waters around the park to see if the lionfish are present in the park's boundaries. If a tourist notifies a ranger or a patrol group finds a fish, removal permits are issued to local divers, allowing them to hunt for and extract the lionfish in an otherwise no fishing area. This decreases the lionfish population within the park, which revalidates the native fish in the coral population and brings more tourists to the park. It makes the park seem more pure and brings more economic incline to the park.
A second key ecological stressor that is present within Dry Tortugas National Park is that of invasive vegetation around the islands of the park. Two examples of invasive plant life on the island are the Australian pine and Cecil hemp. Both of these invasive species harm the native species around the islands by outcompeting the native species with their dense leaf litter beneath them and their ability to take in a lot of water and nutrients. This leaves few nutrients available for the native plant population and kills them off over time. One effect of the decreasing native plant life is that the park is not viewed as pure by prospective tourists that want to visit the park. This could cause a decrease in tourism for the national park, which could lead to an economic decline. A second issue that comes of the invasive plants is that it kills off plants used by birds for nesting and protection. This leads to far little protection for the birds that want to call the island home and does not give them the ability to easily reproduce and repopulate the local bird population. This decreases the biodiversity of the park and once again can harm the tourism that is so vital to the survival of the park and its economic success. One opportunity of sustainability related to the key stressor of invasive vegetation is through objectives like the South Florida and Caribbean Parks Exotic Management Plan. Their goal is to keep the biodiversity of the park high, but keep the invasive species out. To keep out the invasive vegetation, they send out groups of patrol officers around the park to systematically cut down and remove the vegetation as they come across it. Not only does this help with the biodiversity of the native plant life, but also that of the bird population. In conclusion, Dry Tortugas is a beautiful national park with a high biodiversity of plant life, marine life, and animal life. Even though the park has its fair share of ecological stressors, the national park system is taking great strides to fix them.